generation to generation. It's a wonderful thing. And I thought that I would start telling you the story of our family, this tradition of weaving from the middle, and then go to both ends. The middle is my mother. Is that okay if I do that? Okay.
It's more than okay. It's
More than okay. My mother was born in central Latvia, which is something like Middle Earth. It's a wonderful place. In around 1905. Well, those were very hard times in Latvia. Political upheaval, poverty, and she lived on a farm. The whole family was farming people. And at that time, yet in Latvia, each farming family had to provide their own food and fiber, which means you raise the sheep, you work the wool, you spin, you dye, you weave. Same applies to flax. You work the flax, you end up with linen cloth for sheets, shirts, and so forth. Okay. My mother picked it up actually from her grandmother. Her mother in between there is of no account. She didn't much weave or sew or knit or anything like that. At least I never heard much of it. But her paternal grandmother was the one, is the key that has carried through these generations. That grandmother was the one who would always be the boss. When they were weaving, she would set up the looms, tell them how to thread it, how to tie it, which vegetable dyes to use for wools, linen, how to do it for blankets, how to do it for winter coats, men's suits, and so forth and so on. Okay, she also imparted a knowledge and understanding in my mother that was deeper than any book learning could ever do, of a certain color sense that comes from central Latvia. Now Latvia is so small you might think, well, what the heck, differences in West Virginia? But yes, there are. There are tremendous differences in colors, even between villages, even between little regions of the country. And this specific taste of central Latvia was what mother came away with. You do not put these two colors together, you do not do this, you do not do this, you do this. I can't explain it in words, I can't write it down, but I picked it up from her. Now, whether I passed it down another generation is a question. You'll hear about that later. Okay? Also, there is a certain sense of how to fill empty space. Any ethnic group, you give them an empty piece of cloth and say, hey, decorate it. And every group will do it differently. Where you place the design, how you arrange it. Is it heavier on the ends, narrower on the sides? This type of spatial beauty, a feeling of spatial beauty, is very, very specific in central Latvia. And that also, she took it away from her grandmother. She imparted it to me. Okay. Grandmother, in other words, my mother wove to keep her body warm when she was a young girl. They wove very beautiful blankets, suiting materials, coat materials. I've seen some of them. We had a blanket even in exile, even in America, yet one of her blankets had come along. And they also worked the flax, mostly for bed sheets, bed pillows, pillowcases, work shirts, women's skirts in the summertime to work in the country, and so forth. They were also, the wool and the flax were money makers. But most of all, in her younger days, the money makers were flax and sugar beets. And her father said, you want to go to school, work the sugar beets, work the flax, make your own school money. And they did. The kids did. There were 5 children in the family. All of them went through school on sugar beets and flax.